For a long time, Dungeon World was the only system I played because the barrier of starting a Dungeon World game is so very low. It's kind of a group effort and you make it all up as you go. And one of my favorite Dungeon World supplements is the Perilous Wild. It has within it a tool that I found a very rewarding experience to use, and it is the drawing of your campaign map as a group. I had some really great games, great adventures, and even an epic, if a bit short, campaign that came out of this spontaneous drawing of a map. And this method is not exclusive to Dungeon World. You could do it in, I think, pretty much any system. Be it an OSR, be it a sci-fi game. As long as you're willing to improvise a lot and your players are somewhat creative, you can just start with a blank piece of paper. Which is what I will be doing for demonstration purpose. I've got an A3 sheet of paper and a pencil because I like my map to be a bit bigger. Before you begin your map drawing process, you can show some pictures to your players for inspiration purpose, to set the mood of the kind of campaign world you have in mind. 5 to maybe 10 pictures should be more than enough. For this example, I'm showing some drawings from Anato Finnstark, their Deviant Art link in the description below. As you can see, I'm going for a Bloodborne, Dark Souls-esque, very dark theme with this example. The first step is to place your group of PCs on the map. That is either the location where the introductory adventure ended or where you want it to happen. I decided to place it somewhere in the middle of the map to give room of exploration in each direction and have the PCs come back here from time to time. I named it the Huntman's Tavern. For this exercise you can name all the places in plain English and give them a kind of descriptive name, maybe a name invoking a certain image. You can always worry about renaming this to something fancy later. For example, you could just translate your plain English names to something in a foreign language to make it sound more fancy. Maybe Swedish, Russian, hey, maybe German. The second step is that everyone at the table, including the GM, starting with the youngest player, adds a region to the map. Region is a large area of your campaign world that is defined by a common type of landscape. For this first region, I decided that there would be a big city dominating this map, and I called it the first city. Then I pretended I actually had 3 or 4 players sitting around the table, and in my mind they were called black metal, death metal, power metal, and doom metal. Doom metal was up next, and he put a vast region of swampland on the lower right corner of the map and named it the Swallowing Bog. This is not an exercise in making a pretty map. It just has to be functional. Next up was death metal. And he put another large region in the upper right corner of the map. The cemetery of the damned. You do this until everyone around the table has put at least one region up on the map. About 5 regions is a good place to start. Don't be afraid if there are white spots left on the map. In my mind, that is actually a good thing to have. It gives you room to add something later. For the 4th region, black metal adds the ever dark woods to the map. The 3rd step is that beginning with the player who has the most well-traveled character, everyone puts a place of interest on the map. That can be an area, that is a form of sub-region, maybe a lake within a forest, or a clearing within a forest. Another place of interest would be a steading, a village, town, keep, or even a city, like this one Fisher's Rest within the Swallowing Bog. And it could be a site, a landmark, a place of interest, like this Gothic cathedral that probably black metal is adding here, calling it the Lost Cathedral within the Cemetery of the Damned. You go around the table, taking turns, adding areas, steadings, and sites, point of interest, until your map is sufficiently filled up with interesting places to explore and set adventures in. 7 to 10 places is a good starting point for this. You can always add more places of interest later on. The 4th step is to add personal places of each character to the map. You can add new places, like Doom Metal here, who's adding the orphanage where his thief grew up. Or you could name an existing place. Each player gets to name 2 places of personal interest for their character. One is where the character grew up, like the orphanage, or Power Metal is putting the Moon Palace in here, where his sorcerer grew up. And the other place should be a place that is of personal importance. Maybe where they found or lost their first love. A site of personal failure. Maybe they were ambushed somewhere and left for dead. Can be anything really, but it should be a place that is important to the character. A place they might want to revisit during the course of the adventure, the course of the campaign. A place of inspiration where the story could lead. Step 5 is to add connectors. Starting with the player with the most well-traveled character, you add roads, streets, paths, rivers, anything that can facilitate getting from point A to point B to your world. 5 to 10 connectors should be sufficient for the moment. You can always add more later on. Step 6 is to share rumors and legends. A step that I found personally very interesting, very inspiring. Starting with the player with the most knowledgeable character, each player tells a rumor their character has heard, a myth, a legend of some place on the map. This doesn't necessarily have to be true, but you'll have to go there to actually find out. You can start this step in character. This will be your first scene in play for this campaign. The PCs would be sitting in the Huntman's tavern, sharing their rumors, deciding on where to go next. I can imagine death metal telling about the undying archbishop that is still haunting the lost cathedral in the cemetery of the damned. Black metal will tell how he heard that in the ever-dark woods there is a coven of blasphemous witches that on every full moon hold the dark rituals among the stones, sacrificing humans to elder gods. Power metal excitedly tells about the wizard's duel that once a month happen at the Three Tower University, where the best students of the mystical arts show their prowess in open flying combat among the three towers. Finally, doom metal tells about a mad hermit who sells hallucinogenic mushrooms. Supposedly, he lives on the Lone Mount in the Swallowing Buck. The PCs empty their tankards of ale, decide on where to go, and it is time for step 7. Set forth into a world of adventure. I hope if you find yourself with a few of your good friends and don't really know what to play, this will be an inspiration to you, and you put a blank piece of paper on the table and just start drawing. See where it will take you. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.